What's up guys, it's Damien from Cool Mentors IT again. This is our next video where we create our first website from scratch. In the previous video we started adding some styles to our website and today we'll be continuing that. So here you can see our finished website. This is our goal. And this is our project at the moment. In the previous video, we set our wrapper to be 1000 pixels max and to be centered on our website. We gave our body the background color you can see right here. We styled our image in the header and we finished our navigation, which you see right here. Today we'll have to deal with our H1 tag right here, our whole article where we can see an image, and the 3 paragraphs of text right here, our iframe with a YouTube video, and of course our footer, which you can see right here. So what we got at the moment is the whole HTML structure of our website, which you can see right here, and our file with CSS styles, which you can see right here. So now let's go back to work. Let's go to our index.html file. And there's one thing I forgot in my previous video. I added this class big to our EMG and our header, but I did it only for the example, because as you can see in our style CSS file, we referred to our header image like this. So there's no need to leave this class in our HTML file, so let's delete it, just to keep our code clean. There's also one thing I showed you in my previous video, and I want to correct it a little bit. As you may remember, I showed you that if we have 3 elements in our navigation, this is our project right here, and when we go to our style CSS file, we can set flex spaces to our elements to 33%, like this. Let's open our DevTools. And now you can see it's 33% for each element. But there's also 1% when you can see right here with the free space. So to be more precise, we can write just like this. And then we have the whole 100% filled with our A elements. But now let's go back to our project. Let's leave it 25%. Let's uncomment this last element. And let's go back to work. So now we want to handle our section of our website. It's this area right here. That's how it looks in our project. And that's how it's supposed to look when we'll finish it. Now let's see our section in our HTML structure. It's right here. Let's go to our project. And first thing, let's refer to our article. So let's go to our CSS style. And let's refer to our article, which is the tag used in HTML, as you can see right here. So let's go back to our style CSS. And let's give our article margin top, which would be 30 pixels. You can see the difference right here. Now let's give it a margin bottom, which would be 20 pixels. And you can see it right here. And now we want to style our H1 tag right here, because it looks like this on our website. And we want it to look like this. But to do that, we need to get through some theory.
Here we go again.
Let's take any HTML element. It can be div, p, h1, whatever. Let's set its width to 300 pixels, height to 300 pixels as well, which gives us a square of course. And let's set its background color to orange. It will look more or less how you can see on your screen right now. But let's add a padding to it, which is the inner margin. What we'll get if we set our padding to 100 pixels. Our element will expand by 100 pixels each side, which will make it bigger. On this slide, you can see our padding has different color, but it's only our visualization, because padding always has the same color as the element. And what will happen when we will add a border to our element? As you can see in this example, we added a border to our element, which is 20 pixels thick solid line in red color. And that expands our element further. Now it has 540 pixels of its width. Because we have 300 pixels of its basic width, then we have a padding which is 100 pixels on both sides and a border with 20 pixels on both sides. The same situation is with the height of our element since it's a square. Now let's see what will happen when we add margin right with 30 pixels value to our element. You can see that margin has no color, but it moves our element instead. When we have our margin on the right side, our element moves to the left side. So margin is not the part of the element. It doesn't inherit its color and it does not expand it. You may remember from my previous video that you can set a box sizing property to your element and give a border box value to it. This results in a situation where the width and the height of our element stays exactly the same as we set in our CSS rule. So when we set padding to our element, it will not expand the element, but decrease its content space. Content space is the place where you can put your text in. And that is the only place for our text, which is the content. We are not able to place our text on paddings, borders, and margins. So you can see that here we have 300 pixels for our content. And here we have only 60 pixels for our content. Because padding took 100 pixels each side and border took 20 pixels each side. The size of the whole element is still 300 pixels and it won't change no matter what. And here you can see that our margin is still outside of the element even when we use border box value to the box sizing property. Inside our element we have only content, padding, and border. Margin always stays outside and its role is to separate our element from the other elements of our website or from the edges of our browser window. Now let's get the H1 tag, because that's exactly what we want to set on our website to look good and display properly. First thing we want to set to our H1 is the text align property. And we want it to have the center value. So that helps us to center our text because we would have it aligned to the left by default. So the thing I want to do now is set the margin to our element. As you may know from my previous video, we can set 4 values to the margin property with the clockwise meaning. So in this case we have margin top set to 0, margin right set to 10%, and that means 10% of the element's width. So if our element has 1000 pixels of its width, margin right in this case will be 100 pixels, which is 10% of 1000 pixels. But if our element's width will decrease in the browser, which will happen if our website is responsive, to let's say 800 pixels, our margin will be 80 pixels, etc. Then we have 50 pixels set to margin bottom. Using pixels in this case makes it a constant value. So no matter how big or small our browser window will get, this margin bottom will always have 50 pixels. The last value is margin left, and it's the same situation as with margin right, which is 10% of the width of the element. This gray area represents our margin and the orange area is our content space. As you can see on this slide, the background color of our element is orange and the margin is out of our element. It's totally independent. In our slide, margin is gray, but keep in mind that margin is always transparent. Now let's set another thing, padding. If we add a padding bottom of 40 pixels to our heading, we will get the additional space in our element. Padding color will be the same as the background color of our element, but in this slide I changed the padding color just so you can see it better. We added this padding at the bottom of our element so you won't see it on the sides. You could also use margin property and set its value to 0, 0, 40 pixels, 0. The effect would be the same. I remind you that the reason why I'm telling you this right now is that we will be doing similar things on our website right after that. So now you can see I added border bottom, which is a 5 pixels thick solid yellow line at the bottom of our element. So the final effect is exactly like this, and that's what we want to achieve on our website. You can already guess that this is exactly the same thing as we did in our presentation. We have our H1 tag right here. Its text align is centered. There we have a padding bottom right here. And this is our border bottom exactly right here. You may wonder why this line is not the same width as our heading, and you'll know the answer soon. So there you can see the answer. Our border is the same width as our heading, but our text is smaller than the whole width of our element, and it's centered as well. We don't see the size of the element on our website because everything there is in the same color, which is white. I hope this is clear, and I assure it will be even more clear when we'll get back to the code. Alright, so let's get back to work. Let's go to our index.html file, and we can see we have our H1 element in our article. So let's refer to it in CSS. Just like this. We know we have only one H1 tag on our website, so we could just leave this tag right here. But maybe we'll get another one in the future. So let's leave it how it was. So let's change the font size of our H1. Let's set it to 30 pixels. You can see the change right here. Now let's set our text align, which should be center. There you go. Let's set our margin. Let's make it 0, 10%, 20 pixels, and 10%. Let's save it. And there you can see the change. As you may know, we can delete the last value and the effect will be the same. Because now we said that the margin top should be 0, margin right should be 10%, margin bottom should be 20 pixels. And since we don't get margin left value, it will be copied from margin right, which will be 10%. But for our example, let's leave it how it was, just to be sure. And let's do something else. Let's give it a padding bottom, and let's make it 15 pixels. We can see the changes as well. Now let's give it a border. Let's make it 2 pixels solid crimson. Now you can see the border for our whole element. But we know that on our website, we just want the border bottom. So let's change it. Just like this. And voila. We can see on our finished site that this border is shorter, the best wrapper in the whole world. And that's because of our margins on the left and on the right side of our element. So we can make it 20%, for example. And the effect will be the same, like here. Now let's do something with our image. So let's go to our HTML file, make it bigger a little bit, even more. And here you can see that we have img tag, which is inline element, in a p tag, which is block element. We often put inline elements in the block elements so we can manipulate them more easily. And here we can also see we gave a class to our IMG, which is left, and that's how we will refer to it in CSS. So let's make it smaller again. Let's go back to CSS and refer to our image. It's like this. So we have IMG tag with class left. You can also leave only the class name after dot. So that will refer to every element with this class, no matter if it's IMG, P, div, or whatever. But let's leave it like it was. And let's do something with it. We want our image to look like this. So we want this text floating our image on the left. And we can do it with the property float and its value left. Let's see. That's exactly what you can see on your screen right now. Let's decrease the size of our image by setting its width. And let's make it 25%. Voila. Now you can see our image sticks to the text right here and sticks with the edge of the wrapper and our iframe below. And we can change it by adding some padding. Just like this. We can change the size of our image however we want. It could be 50%. Or even 100%. And there we can see it has always 100% of the wrapper, no matter how big or small our website is. And that's exactly the same situation when we give it 25%. It'll get bigger or smaller to always have 25% of the website. Now let's go back to our view and let's do something else. We have this property named border radius, and if you set it to 50%, the corners of our IMG will be round, just like this. So if our image is square, with border radius 50%, it's gonna change into a circle. And if our image is a rectangle, it's gonna change into ellipse. But we can see in our finished website, the change of our image is quite different. And that's because this property can also have 4 values. Let's change it to 0 right now. And I wanted to tell you that every value in this property refers to every corner of our image. So we can set it like 50%, 30%, 50, and 30. And that's exactly the same look as in our finished website. And just like with paddings and margins, we can leave only 2 values, and the next 2 of them will be copied from the previous ones. Just like that. Now let's style the paragraphs in our article. So let's refer to it. Now this selector means take every P in the article that you have. As you may know, we have 3 P tags in our article. So that selector refers to every one of them. So let's put some styles into our paragraphs. First thing we want to do is to set our text align. And we want it to be justify. Just like this. So you can see that every line starts and ends at the beginning and at the end of our wrapper. Let's make it smaller. We can also see that our text sticks to the end of the wrapper, so we have to refer to our article tag, which we can see right here, and add some padding. We want it to be 0 from the top and the bottom of our article, but we want it to have 20 pixels on the left and on the right side of it. Here you can see we got the effect we wanted, but as you may know, our image has padding of itself. So in this side we have 20 pixels, but on this side we have 30 pixels. So we have to change it right now. Let's refer to our IMG once again. Maybe let's get rid of this padding. Let's see how it works. And maybe let's replace it with margin. So we want 0 pixels from the top, 10 pixels from the right, 10 pixels from the bottom, and 0 pixels from the left. And I think that's the effect we have on our finished website. Yep, that's exactly the same. Now let's go back to our project. You should know that we gave padding to the article element, but it still has 100% of the wrapper because we have box sizing set to border box. So now our article has 100% minus 20 pixels on each side. Now let's go back to our article P. Now I want to show you what line height is. When we highlight the text on our website, you can see the line of the text right here. This is the height of our single line, and we can make it bigger if we want. Let's go back to normal view. And let's set line height of our P element to 50 pixels. Now you can see the difference. Now this is the height of our line. You can see it's much bigger. Let's go back to normal view. And let's say we want 25 pixels of our line height. And I think this effect is good. Let's increase our font size to 18 pixels. It looks good to me. Now let's get some paddings to separate our 3 paragraphs right here. We want it to have 15 pixels on the top and the bottom, and 0 pixels on the left and the right. Let's see how it works. And ta-da! This is exactly the effect we wanted to get. Let's see how it looks on our finished site. And it looks exactly the same. Now I want to show you how our iframe works on our finished website. If you decrease the window size, you can see that our iframe always has 100% of its width, and the play button is always centered, no matter how small or big our window size is. And now let's see how it works on our project. You can see we have the scroll bar right here. Our iframe always got 1000 pixels of its width and goes out of our wrapper. And now we want to change it. Let's go back to our CSS file, and it's very simple. Let's refer to our iframe, and let's set its width to 100%. Now it should work exactly how we want. And you can see the effect right here. We have no scroll bar right here. Our iframe is always 100%. And our play button is always centered. So now we have the last thing to do on our website, and that's our footer. So let's refer to it. As we can see in our index.html, we have a footer tag, and that's how we want to refer to it in our CSS. Now you know how the line height works, but it's also useful to know is that you can change the height of your element by changing its line height. Let's see how this works. Let's set our line height to 40 pixels, for example. Here you can see the effect of our changes. You can see our footer got bigger, and it's all because its line got bigger as well. Now let's change the background color. Let's make it dark cyan. Let's change the color of our font for white. Let's center our text. And maybe let's set some margin top to it for, let's say, 10 pixels. And I think this is exactly the same thing we have on our finished website. Yep. Now our two projects are the same. So finally, our website is done.
It's done.
In my next video, I'll show you how to improve it, make it even more responsive and generally better. But for now, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click like. If you want to see me again, click subscribe. Don't forget the notification bell. If you have some questions, I'll be down in the comments to help you out. My name is Damien, this is Cool Mentors IT, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.